The program is the Afia morning show to the rest of Nigeria, where since the alleged coup plot, a series of questionable events have been reported. In a recent development, a social media user identified as Innocent Chukwuma, who operated the X account, the Agro Man, has reportedly been arrested by the DSS for allegedly calling on the military to overthrow the Nigerian government. Now, in his post on his now suspended account, Chukwuma urged the Nigerian military to suspend the government, among other remarks interpreted as incitement against President Bola Tinubu's administration. Now, before his arrest, reports had circulated alleging that a former governor was under investigation for sponsoring the supposed coup plot, claims the defense headquarters had earlier dismissed on October 18th as false and misleading. Now, the speculation nonetheless gained traction once again following President Tinubu's recent removal and replacement of service chiefs, a move that further fueled public debate about the stability of the nation's political structures. And of course, this morning we saw reports about some money being linked to the NDDC and denial by the former governor of Bayelsa State and of course former Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, saying that he does not have a hand in the alleged coup plots. And of course, that is Silva himself. We're joined now to assess these allegations, quite serious, high-profile allegations, by Dr. Fyneface Dumnamene Fyneface, the Executive Director, Youth and Environmental Advocacy Center. Dr. Fyneface, it's so good to have you. Thank you for joining us as we embark on this historical conversation, or shall we say, history attempting to repeat itself. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the program this morning, Natalie.
And Oji is here as well. I was waiting for you to say Nnamdi. Oji is here as well.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, how are you? How you doing?
Good, good. Good to have you.
I'm great. I'm straight.
All right, this might be the last time that we will smile during this conversation because things are getting quite serious. What's your take on the recent developments and all the things fueling this conversation about purported coup plot in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you, Natalie. I think the whole issue here is, the kind of degenerating, I must say. It started with, information about certain officers being arrested and detained for planning coup. And then other room trial is said to have been going on within the military. And then there were some denials that this wasn't true. And then thereafter, we got to hear about the raiding of the residence of the former governor of Bayelsa State and, of course, the former Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timi Prisiva, in both Abuja and Yenegua, his home states. And then he's said to have been outside the country. And then from there, he reported that, nothing, his hand is not in this. I think his media aide spoke. But then he didn't return to the country from what we heard. He had to stay back where he was and where he is, while investigation continues at home. And then thereafter, we got to hear that certain amount of money had been transferred by certain federal government agency in River States, to support and fund the coup. And then by today, it became crystal clear that the federal government agency they were rumoring about was the NDDC, and it's the NDDC, the Niger Delta Development Commission. And we have now been told that 45 billion naira, was transferred to certain persons to fund the coup, allegedly. And the investigation is ongoing. And from the report we have read, that even some officers that were previously arrested are part of those who received part of that fund from the NDDC. We also heard that the managing director of the NDDC, is being arrested and being investigated over this matter. So I think it is worrisome. And the development that we have seen so far has lent some credence to the fact that it was actually true that those officers that were initially arrested and detained were actually planning the coup that is being rumored now. This controversy is everywhere and traces are beginning to come out. But the point here remains that we even recently heard about the support, being given from what you read by certain Chukwuma in River States that, posted on X handle calling for Nigerians to give support to the coup plotters. All of these are issues that we should be concerned about as Nigerians because it is like gathering momentum. And this must not be unconnected with the fact that many Nigerians have suffered under the Tinubu administration to a very large extent, and some of them are disgruntled. Now, these very youths or man that is arrested from Rivers State, is said to have been arrested from the Oyinbo area of Rivers State. I must say that to a very large extent, we've had a lot of controversial issues around the Oyinbo area. In fact, a lot of Rivers people and even the government of Rivers State and the security operatives believe that Oyinbo, local government area of Rivers State, is dominated by the Igbos and controlled by the Igbos. And during the NSAS protest, there was also special attention given to the Oyinbo area, to the extent that there was serious occupation in that area. So there is also this, discussion and the rumor that the ex-handle post must not be unconnected with the continuous detention of Nnamdi Kanu and the call by some members of the Igbo ethnic nationality for him to be released. And they believe that his refusal, Mr. President's refusal to free Nnamdi Kanu, must not be unconnected with why this particular thing is disgruntled to the extent that he has now called for there to be a coup in Nigeria to overthrow the government of, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so that maybe from there, Nnamdi Kanu could be released. So all of this put together are things that we need to really have and investigate. I believe that investigation is going on. And don't be surprised that in the days ahead, we are still going to have more people being linked, more people being investigated, more people being arrested. As we speak, the arrests we have heard about include those of the 16 or is it 6 or 16 army officers being detained.
Right. And
then we heard about the arrest of the driver of, the former minister of State Petroleum Resources, Siva, and then his brother. And then we also heard of the taking into custody by the DSS of, the managing director of the, NDC. So all of these are going on.
Dr. Fyneface, I mean, I like that you put all of this in perspective. Now, there have also been some opinions on the contrary that the linking of NDDC to this could be as a result of the anger, agitation by Ijaw members who probably feel slighted by the removal of the governor earlier. That this could be some kind of attempt at, just trying to get back at the federal government. I mean, you could speak to that. Do you think that there's any tie to Ijaw leaders and the members of the Ijaw tribe, of course, being upset at what the presidency did to their sitting governor at the time?
No, I don't see that as the issue at all. And I don't think anybody on the streets here is really talking about that, because those who are informed about this matter know where it is coming from. In fact, let me bring the angle that we believe the arrest or questioning or linking of the NDDC into all of this controversy is coming from. It is believed that, the managing director of the NDDC, Ogogu Samuel, is trying to contest for governorship election in Bayelsa State in 2027. So his plan to contest for election there is the reason why they are not trying to frame him up, allegedly frame him or bring him into the picture, bring these allegations up, so that he will not have that credibility to run for the election in 2027. So those who are privy to the information and closer to the NDDC board, and also in the picture of what is happening in the Niger Delta, are of the opinion that all what you are seeing here is about 2027 and the plans to ensure that the NDDC managing director that is allegedly eyeing becoming the governor of Rivers in 2027 do not run. This is more about politics other than the issue of emergency rule involving Fubara or whatever in Rivers State. No, it is not here at all. One would have even thought that the person that would have been brought into the picture wouldn't have been Timi Receiver, but someone like Right Honorable Chibike Rotimi Amechi that has always been critical about this government, talking about hunger, talking about Nigeria trying to remove him from Mr. President and all of that. But all of this is said to be about politics more, other than the issue of emergency rule or planned removal of the governor in Rivers State.
Dr. Fyneface, also let's come from this perspective, because there are rumors too, and the critics, they're all wagging tongues too. And I'm talking about everybody knows Timi Silva's position in this dispensation. Could this also be the reason why this is happening to him at this point in time, like a setup because of his position in the present government?
Well, you can't rule anything out at this point in time. A lot of things can be brought into the picture. The permutations are there, how they have been critical and all of that. But here, the coming on board, or let me say into the picture of Timi Silva here, is clearly because it is alleged that certain amount of money was transferred from the NDDC into his accounts or someone related to him, or linking him to the coup plot. That is how you have the Timi Receiver coming into the picture here. Now, don't also forget that Timi Receiver is also a former governor of the state and is also struggling to return as the governor of the state. Remember, he was in office, he attempted in the last election and he didn't win.
Yeah.
And he's also trying to come in here. So why I believe that all of these are something we can call a way of calling a dog a name by way of killing that dog by that name. I believe that there is more of politics coming into this picture than what we are actually thinking about.
Right.
But
now, Dr. Fyneface, you've made a very good point, and you've established it so clearly that the people on the streets of Rivers think that this is a matter that has to do with politics. So as a matter of fact, you people in that area are not buying into what the investigation is saying, that this money was found to have come from the NDDC account. You think that is just some kind of political statement. So you are looking for hard facts that links NDDC to this high-profile crime.
Well, I think to a very large extent, the funds is said to have been transferred. I believe the government has evidence, DSS, they have their evidence that the fund actually moved. And from the newspaper report we read this morning, the fund is even said to have been traceable to the accounts of the officers that are allegedly involved in the coup plotting.
That's correct.
That is clear that if that actually happened at the end of the investigation, it means clearly that the NDDC funds were actually being used to fund people who are trying to unseat Mr. President. And what we are talking about here is not a little money. 45 billion.
So with all of this that you have established here, why do people still believe that this is a political attack on the MD of NDDC?
Yeah, they believe it is a political attack on him because he's trying to run for governorship election in his state.
But do you believe it's a political attack? Do you believe, because being on the program, you are also somewhat of an opinion leader. You are an opinion leader. Do you believe, based on the facts before you, that this is a political attack?
I do not believe it is political attack. I believe more that something must have happened. And I believe that him being in the custody of the DSS is for him to tell the DSS the reason why 45 billion was transferred. And as part of that, money does not just move, funds does not just move without some documentation. He will present a document that shows that a contract was awarded to the person that the money was sent to. Then the document will be viewed, they will look at everything and carry out a holistic investigation. Because I do not think that this is the first time that money is moving from point A to point B. But it is because the funds were traceable from the NDDC to certain persons. Remember, what must have led to the involvement of the NDDC here and tracing of this fund is the fact that 16 officers were earlier arrested and being investigated. So the investigation they have revealed, because when you are arrested in this manner, they will try to frozen your accounts and then get statements of your account, get all the details, look at the funds that come into your account, ask you for what purpose was this funds released and all of that. And then, other doors will begin to open, investigative doors will begin to open. So that is what is happening here. So I believe that the involvement of the NDDC today, Timi Receiver and all of them must not be unconnected with the earlier arrest of the military officers said to have been planning coup. And I also believe that in the days ahead, more people will be arrested. So to a very large extent, I do not see this from the prism of politics, but more of the outcome of ongoing investigation for the arrest of other officers said to have been involved in planning a coup to overthrow the. If
found guilty in this high treason that is being called a coup d'etat, what are the consequences, both for the person on X, Innocent Chukwuma, not innocent that we know, another X user, innocent Chukwuma, who was encouraging a coup and saying that the military should suspend the federal government? What would be the consequences for him now that he has been arrested? What would be the consequences for the former governor of Bayelsa State? And what would be the consequence for the NDDC? What could happen if at the end of the day, the investigation leads the coup plot to the doorsteps of these individuals? And if this social media user is found guilty of inciting the public to support a coup?
Natalie, what is going to happen is very clear. The law will take its course. I believe that after the investigation, they are going to establish some findings, some crime that they may have allegedly committed. And some of those accusations will be filed and we'll take them to court. And if they actually link them to not just transferring the funds, but actual involvement in coup plotting, then it's a treasonable offense. So they are going to face treasonable charges. I clearly believe that Innocence, that is arrested now for calling for coup or supporting a coup, is going in for treason. That is very clear. So the laws are there. The cybersecurity and cybercrime law is there. All the laws of Nigeria that they may have violated in the process of these activities for which they are being investigated will be invoked. Sections of those laws are going to be invoked against them, and they will take them to court, charge them before a court of competent jurisdiction, basically in Abuja. And all of them are going to face the wrath of the law. And if they are able to defend themselves, because despite the arrest and whatever, count charges that is, level against them, they are presumed to be innocent under the laws of Nigeria.
All right, Dr. Fyneface, now based on your initial analysis, it appears that somehow you believe that the NDDC has something to answer for. What do you think could be the motivation of the NDDC possibly being complicit in this, if they are complicit at all? Why would the NDDC want to overthrow the presidency?
Yeah, I think it is unfortunate that the NDDC is coming into this picture. And like I have said, what happened to the service chiefs is going to happen to the board and management of the NDDC very soon. They are going to be dissolved very soon.
Why would they want to do that? Why would they be linked to something like this? What could be the reason why NDDC would want to do this if they're found guilty, if they're guilty of this crime?
There are certain persons in the NDDC, like we have the managing director now being accused of this allegation. He may have what he may have been promised. These are all allegations that is subject to investigation and then trial, and then we get to know. People have a lot of reason why they want to get involved in certain processes. Remember that if you fund a process and the president of a country is overthrown, you have a very strong stake in that government and you are going to recover the money. We've complained about the NDDC and how funds are being used in the NDDC. Remember, this is not the first time. Even the FCT minister complained at some point as the governor of Rivers State to say that funds were being filtered from the NDDC to sponsor election in Nigeria. And that has been happening. So all of these happen. The NDDC, this is not the first time they have been accused of funding, issues like coup or like, crisis in Nigeria or like election. It happens. So it depends on who is sitting there and how the person chooses to use the resources and what he aims to gain. The money in the NDDC and the funds that they have, if you join some 3, 4, 5 African countries together, the NDDC is richer than them. The NDDC is richer than Sao Tome and Principe. They are richer than even Seychelles. They are richer than, mention Togo. They are richer than that as an agency. They have so much money. So when there is so much money at your disposal and you are being offered something to say that if you can fund this process and we remove Mr. President, this is what you are going to get out of it. And this 45 billion initial payment you are making, you are going to recover it within 24 hours or 48 hours. It can push them to want to do that. So the possibility is there. And I think that is what came in there. But all of these are still allegations. And I believe that the MD that has been arrested by the DSS, they have some questions to answer. And I believe that if he's able to convince them that the money wasn't transferred for any purpose, the NDDC shouldn't be linked to all of that, and he's able to prove this with facts and figures, I believe that he will be freed. This is just an investigation. He's not been accused to have committed a crime, but he's a kind of a suspect here that this happened. They confess allegedly that funds from you entered the account and it was meant to support the coup process. So he don't have to defend himself. When he's able to do that, I believe he might be free. Otherwise, he may find his day in court. The board of the NDDC, the management will be dissolved because he shouldn't even be in office when investigation is ongoing. If actually they found something in the initial, investigation they have been. Remember, Mr. President reads the DSS report every morning before he steps out of the presidential villa to take. So whatever it is that they have found out on the first day of his arrest, up to this morning, Mr. President has gotten the report.
That's a good point.
To see what they can do.
Dr. Fyneface, what straw actually broke the camel's back here if all these allegations at the end of the day comes or becomes true? Is it the presidency that is positioned, the suspension of Ubara, or Ijaw people trying to also prove a point? What could actually connect or be the reason why these are we experiencing this at this point in time? If all these allegations becomes true.
If they become true, I think it's more of the coup. It's more of getting those who are talking about this involved and less of politics. And there is no Rivers man directly involved in what is currently ongoing. You know, the Bayelsa people are not the only Ijaw. We have a lot of Ijaw people in Rivers State, and we have also had a lot of Ijaw people in government, and none of them in Rivers State are currently being fingered in this. So I think this is more of Bayelsa politics or Bayelsa, you know, involvement. The NDDC managing director is from Bayelsa State. The Timip receiver also involved in this is from Bayelsa State. So they may know why they want to come into this. And I don't think that it has anything to do with the involvement or the emergency rule or whatever it is in Rivers State. So I think to a very large extent, we only hosted the NDDC national headquarters in Rivers State. And I do not think that Rivers State should be dragged into the ongoing politics if there is nothing connecting any Rivers man to the politics being played or the alleged coup plot that is being played. Because to a very large extent, I will tell you that many Rivers people can complain, but I don't think a Rivers man can be proudly involved in the process of ousting Mr. President, because Mr. President has tried his best for the Rivers people to a very large extent, but we still believe that some people may have their personal interest and something that they want to gain that may drag them into the politics of trying to overthrow Mr. President. And I don't think that this language that is being spoken now across the country is good for this country, because Nigeria is supposed to become a leader of democracy on the African continent. And we cannot afford to go back to the days of military rule. The worst democracy is better than the best military rule.
All right,
and
Dr. Fyneface.
Anybody that wants to remove Mr. President to wait for 2027 and then vote him out.
But sorry,
go ahead.
But it's been raining. It's been raining coup in the Sahel, in the west of Africa. It's been raining coup. You know, so and there's a rumor one in Nigeria at this point in time. What would you even say that could be or is happening at this point in time? Because at the end of the day, everybody is shouting. We had our brothers in up north, right, waving Russian flags, calling for military takeover and whatnot. What could actually be happening?
Well, I think those who are calling for this, they are not patriotic enough. They are not, very good Nigerians who are proud of this country. I know that Nigerian government is not doing us well as a people, but I don't think that military rule is what we need at this point in time. I have still said it that the worst democracy is better than the best military rule. So we have had coup in Mali, we've had it in Niger, we also had it in, I think, in Burkina Faso. These countries are there. They have formed the alliance of the Sahel, countries and nations. But all of it doesn't mean that Nigeria should also come into the picture of coup. Remember, we have come this way before and we condemn the coup in those countries, and we must remain the leader of democracy on the African continent, even if we are not practicing democracy the way it should go. I don't think that coup should come into the picture, because where we are now is better off. If we have to be under military rule, I don't think I will even be free to speak the way I'm speaking on TV this morning.
Dr. Fyneface, now final question, because we're out of time. And I like that you mentioned how stifling that could be if it in fact happens. What do you have to say on a final note? What brief remark do you have to give to people who are supporting the idea of a coup, people who believe that a coup is the way to go in Nigeria? What do you have to say to them?
My advice to them would be that the coup is not the way to go. If you don't want the government anymore, wait until election, then you vote out the president of the country, you vote out the government. Because coup is not the best way to go. Because I think we are seeing money from Ogoni leaders that were killed in 1998, by the military rule in Nigeria. So I believe that the worst democracy we have is better than whatever they call the best military rule. So I advise them to sheath their sword, support the government, and then wait until 2027, go to the polling units with their PVCs, and then, vote out, the government if they don't want the government anymore. So I think the DSS should do the thorough investigation and ensure that the rights of the people now accused are not violated, because they are still innocent until a court of competent jurisdiction pronounce them guilty of whatever crime for which they have been accused.
All right, thank you
very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fyneface, for joining us. Of course, we hope to connect with you subsequently, and hope it continues to remain an allegation, right, and not anything more than that allegation.
We don't want to experience that.
Right.
Please, don't need that in our country now.
Thank you once again, Dr. Fyneface. The morning show returns again tomorrow at 8 a.m. Of course, we'll have our TGIF special edition where we try to get into the weekend with the right vibes, the right energy. So until we meet again tomorrow at 8 a.m., have a lovely morning ahead and do well to smile all day. It's a decision to be happy in adulthood. You have to make that decision. And of course, you attract good fortunes if you just smile. I remain your host, Nathalie Uku.
And I remain OG. Watch you could have a spending Thursday and smile.